about blog growth and development with two regional on-air celebrities and international online celebrities. Okay, we have Jaime Karpovich, whose blog is Save the Kales, and Christina Hitchcock with It'sAKeeper.com. And take it away, ladies.
Hi, everybody. Woo! We need some like coffee in here, but I promise you we're gonna bring the energy. Can everybody hear? Because the microphone passing it back and forth, we just don't want to do it. So hopefully you can hear us. I think we're both very chatty ladies and we'll talk loud.
She needs the video.
For the video. Okay. Hello, video. Okay, so I'll just tell you a little bit about me and my blog and why I'm on this panel. I'm a freelance writer, a public speaker. I like books and I like eyeliner. But I started a blog called Save the Kales 3.5 years ago. Just as a hobby thing, something to do. It was, at that time, primarily focused on vegan cooking, hence the name, Save the Kales, and has become kind of more of a lifestyle blog, a personal blog. It gets a little self-helpy at times, but because of that, actually, I've received some great opportunities. I've won several awards. I've personal chefed for Joan Jett in the last year. That was like one of the greatest achievements of my life. And I also host a monthly television show that airs in the Lehigh Valley that is cooking and lifestyle, and I was just nominated for a regional Emmy Award, which was also very neat. And I also work with the Bethlehem Food Co-op, Bethlehem Veg Fest, and that's just some of my other little things that I do. Oh, that's Jamie's logo. Okay. So a little bit about me. I'm a mom, wife, blogger, recipe hoarder, chief cook and bottle washer at It's a Keeper, because when you have a cooking blog, you have a lot of dirty dishes. I'm also a field editor for Taste of Home magazine. It's a national magazine. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of that. I'm also a kitchen expert for goodcook.com. I've contributed for a couple of local media outlets, Happenings magazine. I've provided some guest posts on their blog. I've been in their magazine a couple of times. I've also been a contributor on WNEP's Home and Backyard a few times. I've also worked with a number of national brands through my blog, Kleenex, Cottonelle, Pillsbury, some big names, big household names that you may have heard of. I've also guest posted on QVC's blog and a couple other bigger things like allparenting.com, Mommy Page, things like that. Blog Her, some of my posts are featured on. So a little bit about how I got started. I like to say it all started when I was 2. My mom just sent me that picture of my first stove. But really, it all started in 2010. I went through that whole post-Christmas cleaning frenzy, found that I had scats of recipes all over the place. Ripped out of magazines, printed from online emails, written on scraps of paper. I think a couple were even on the backs of paper plates. And I was watching Julia and Julia while I was going through this pile and organizing it, and a little light bulb went off, and I'm like, I'm gonna cook my way through this pile, and I'm gonna start a blog. I just had no idea what a blog was, so I picked up my laptop, I Googled it, and the rest was history. That's how It's a Keeper was born, and I basically taught myself how to do everything from that point forward. So, today my blog gets over 1,000 hits a day. I'm in the process of redesigning my site, so that's kind of a sneak peek of, it's up there, right, of what it will look like. I also launched a couple of new features on my site, Dinner 411, How to Cook with Kids, and a web cooking show that I have on YouTube. So as you can see, both Jamie's blog and my blog have grown quite a bit from when we started. And I think we're where we are today because of our passion. So we've had a lot of growing pains through our journey, and today we thought it would be fun to share with you what those growing pains were and what we've learned kind of along the way through our blogging journey. So what's the secret to growing your blog? I'm sure you're all dying to know what that is. You know, getting those posts to go viral, working with national brands, getting that media exposure, and ultimately like making money and quitting your job and being a full-time blogger, right?
Yeah, that's what we're all here for. Well, so we're here to tell you that there is no secret.
After the dance party? Yeah, well, I guess I should say probably for both of us, like when we started our blogs, we were just like, we're gonna start a blog on WordPress, and like had no idea all these social media statistics and analytics and things, and so it has been such a learning process. And there's so many tools now, and there's conferences like this, which is really cool because you can come and take advantage of all these things. But really like kind of getting in the trenches and figuring out what works and what doesn't work by trial and error has been hugely important. I know for me, like one thing that my friend always swears by, and this may or may not be appropriate for your content, but when she says, I'm not sure what to write about, hers is kind of a more personal blog, she'll say like, I'll post a picture of my cats, and so help me you guys, like everybody loves cats. Like, so she'll get like 100 likes on a picture on Facebook, her statistics and views go like way up, and then like meanwhile she created this like magical, beautiful dinner, and like 14 people liked it. So that's like the weird thing about the internet, is it's really hard to figure out sometimes, and you can create the best content ever, but it may not be as intriguing as like a cat with a hat on, And so like you can also kind of use that to your advantage, if you want to do all cats with hats on, that's awesome. That's people have gotten like 6-figure book deals. But if you can find a way to supplement that with like really great content, and also content that really is exuding of your personality, you can go far with that. And obviously, to do that, you need to actually do the work. I know when I started blogging, I was blogging every single day, Monday through Friday, and that quickly became difficult as I got more busy, and I was making posts like coming up with the most random thing, like, look at these boots that are like really cool, and they had nothing to do with food or they were shoes that I really liked, and nobody cared really at that time. So it kind of became like a quantity or quality over quantity thing, and doing things that are a little more meaningful. But I still had to get out there and blog every day and figure out who my audience was, which didn't really happen until, I think even like a year in. So if you're new to this and you're like, I don't know what to do, who's reading it? Probably not even the people that you may have initially thought. Most of my readers are not vegan, they're not vegetarian, most of them are like moms who feed their kids everything, and maybe they just want some like new snack ideas or something. So
what we thought we would do was boil down the 10 things that we've learned about along the way, or what we like to say is the 10 things which people had told us before we got started in all this. But the first one, I guess, is to begin with the end in mind. And by that, really take a look at where you see yourself blogging in 5, 10, or 20 years. Are you looking for a book deal? Are you looking to get sponsors? Are you looking to work with brands? Be careful to make the choices that can grow with you. So don't just think about the here and now. Think about where you want to take it. So that goes with your blog name, your URL, your social media sites. I am currently on probably my 3rd URL, which is probably not the best route to take, but I started off on a WordPress site, so it's itsakeeper.wordpress.com. When I decided I want to be self-hosted, It's a Keeper is not available. It was some paint can contraption thing. So that URL was not available, so for whatever reason, it was probably just a late night, sleep-deprived decision, I went with everydaytastes.com. But I've currently secured itisakeeper.com because for whatever reason, I didn't think to break the contraction up in that word. So it took a couple years for me to figure that one out. But I now have that URL, and I'm in the process now of migrating everything over, which is not the easiest thing to do since I've built a brand already. So that is one thing I want to warn you about. That was one big lesson that I learned. So make choices that can grow with you and make sure you can go with that. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I think we should talk about the URLs that you may need or want.
Yeah.
And I know you have some stuff going on with that too, but my name is spelled Jaime, Jaime. I was named after the Bionic Woman. How cool is that? But my name is spelled just a little unusual from the typical spelling, and it never is spelled correctly. And so I made sure that I also bought JamieKarpovich.com spelled the right way, spelled the wrong way, JamieK.com, JamieK spelled the right way, the wrong way.com, like all those things. So down the road, if I decide that I want to like expand this brand of things that I do, public speaking or writing or whatever, I will have that because I don't know, maybe 5 years from now I'll want it. So if you have, I mean, you know, we're from Wilkes-Barre, like I've seen some of your last names. I'm from here too. And if you have some CZYs and like all that good stuff in there, like think about maybe how people would spell it phonetically and register that too. It's so cheap. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah. And definitely go out and secure all your social media sites now. Even if it's something you're just thinking about, go out and get your Facebook, your Twitter, your Google+, your Instagram. I know I'm missing one.
Yeah, no, like...
Yeah, everything. Just get everything now. You know, I'm launching those 2 new sections, How to Cook with Kids and Dinner 411, so I've already purchased those URLs. I haven't done anything with them, but I'm just hanging on to them because I know someday I'm going to need them or want them. So our second lesson is to offer something valuable to your readers. And that's really creating the valuable content. So think about your point of view, and this can be something that's trial and error. It may take a while to find out what it is, but you know, just keep writing and you'll figure it out eventually. And think about how people relate to you. You know, do they look at you as the vegan blog? Do they look to me sometimes for dinner ideas? That's the emails and the Facebook messages that I get a lot. I also read a lot of blogs every day, like a lot, more than I probably should, and all different types. So, you know, a lot of my stuff revolves around cooking and food, but that's not all I read. So you get a lot of ideas and inspiration from all the other types of blogs that you read out there. Jamie was mentioning to get to know your readers because it might surprise you. I swore that when I first started this, the only people that would be reading my blog were like my mom, my sister, maybe a couple of my friends. Turns out none of them read my blog. My mother doesn't even know what it is. So I have a lot of readers from all over the place, and getting to know them, it really does surprise you. So do you want to add more there? Keep passing off.
Let's see. Well then I think you were wanting to talk about like how often do you post. You know, I mentioned earlier that posting 5 times a week became a detriment to the content of my blog. And so, you know, I think there's maybe an ebb and flow, but kind of figuring out what's right for you. Maybe 3 times a week. Maybe you do something that kind of keeps you on track. Like, you know, I have friends who contribute to, it's called like What I Ate Wednesdays, or What I Wore Wednesdays, or whatever it may fit for your theme. But you know, on Wednesday they post a picture of a really cool outfit they wore that week if they're kind of like a fashion blogger. Or for food, it might be like over the weekend they went out and ate at a really great restaurant and made a really cool breakfast, or even like a normal breakfast. And their post on that next coming Wednesday is just like all of the food that they ate, start to finish, an entire day. And we also know about the internet, y'all like cats and y'all like food, so why not? And it's funny, I have a friend who posts every single day. She's a phenomenal writer, and she still says like, it's the pictures of my food that get the most hits. So sometimes you don't have to overthink everything so much, but you want to think about what you want to get to know your audience.
One of the things that I actually suffered from not too long ago was blogger burnout. I was working full time, I had a lot going on in my life, and I just couldn't keep up with it. Just to be honest, I got home from work and I was like, I couldn't bear to open my laptop up and look at a monitor for any longer than I did. And what actually turned me around from that, so you'll like this, Carla, so pay attention, was last year's BlogCon. When I left BlogCon, I had so many ideas. I felt so inspired when I left. I took all my notes, made a big list of what I was going to do, and I just made a commitment to myself and my blog that I was going to turn myself around. And I did. And, you know, a lot of changes have happened, and it's grown because of that. But things that I've started to do is writing about different topics, coming up with a new writing style. Like, I kind of needed to reinvent myself a little bit on my blog. And it's okay to do that because it's yours and nobody can tell you what to do. So, you know, there's a lot of ways to get around that, but it can happen, and it happens to everybody. And, you know, just and that's where it helps to read other blogs, because it will help you get through that. It also helps to bring your personal life into your blog a little bit. I know sometimes you want to have that separation of church and state, but I find that my readers relate when, you know, I say that, while I'm cooking dinner, I've got my son doing homework, I've got this going on, the dryer's buzzing, the cat's barfing, we've got like all this stuff going on in my house, and for some reason people want to connect to you and realize that you're real, and you're not this like Martha Stewart who makes these fabulous things every day. And yeah, some of my things flop, some of them are not keepers. It's just the way it is, for better or for worse. Let them know who you are and tell them for better or worse.
We want to see the bloopers.
Oh, that's a great spin-off. It's not a keeper.
Yeah, well, that's what it was. Like, I was posting whether or not they were keepers, so if it was or if it wasn't. Recently, I haven't had as many that weren't, so I think I'm just reading my recipes better. Yeah.
We wanted to just mention a little something kind of following the same lines about how the only thing that people will know about you if they're reading your blog is what you choose to show them. So I know, like, I still read these blogs sometimes where it's like these people and they're so beautiful and their lives are so gorgeous and everything they make is stunning and their home is like amazing and their boyfriend is so sexy, and like it kind of almost makes you feel bad, right? Because it's like you see your actual real life and then you see this beautifully edited, composed life online. And I received I think it is the worst email, like we've all had them, right? The worst email of the most horrible, devastating email I've ever received, and it was like 10 paragraphs long and talking about how I like am so like rich and like I do all this stuff and I have all this money, which is like hilarious, especially given that 3 years ago, good Lord, like we could talk about that. But it was awful and they were making all these assumptions. And I felt really sad about it, but then when I kind of went back and looked through, I was like, oh, I'm only posting pictures of like happy, nice things and like nice food that turned out well. And so that was really kind of a like spin-off point for me about like being a little more vulnerable and being a little more honest. And if you're blogging for a company, like maybe you aren't going to take a picture of your dirty dishes in the sink, but I think if you're doing more like personal blogging, that can really help you, because that's how we make connections to people, is by like sharing our true stories. And you want to also give like the best impression of yourself that you can, which is an imperfect human being. That was a little philosophical, I don't know. I wish someone told me that like 3 years ago.
So the next thing I thought we'd talk about is our third lesson, is that good design is really the key to your blog or your website. And your website is really a virtual business card. That's how people, know who you are. So what does your blog design say about you? That's one thing to look at. I struggle with this a lot because I'm very self-critical. I'm always looking at my site and figuring out what I could do differently. But, are you whimsy? Are you serious? Are you fun, trendy, simple? What defines you? And when you look at that, I guess one of the most important things is that it's easy to navigate. I am a terribly impatient person. So if I have to click like more than twice, I'm done. I'm out of there, I'm on to something else. I just have no patience for it. So make sure that what you're doing and what you're saying is easy to navigate. It's easy to find the information that people are looking for. SEO is very important too, obviously, and there's entire sessions just on that. So that is very, very helpful to make sure you have the right search engine optimization. And let your readers get to know you. Don't, have that silly contact form under Contact Us. I hate those, where you have to fill out the little form and type your message in the box. Put your photo up there, put an email address, like let people get to know who you are and feel like they're connecting with an actual person and somebody out there. And remember that design is ever changing, and it's something that can change with you. I know we're both going through site design changes right now, so it's just something that's always changing.
Number 4, follow your gut. And this is kind of just to stay as a reminder to be true to why you started blogging in the first place. Are you trying to inform people? Are you trying to create a sense of community? Are you trying to help people, provide them with a service? Or, trying to keep that, just to remember what that is. And one really great thing I wanted to mention, it kind of ties in with finding your own voice and finding your own authentic voice and why it's valuable, because sometimes you see these people, like I'll look at these blogs that have like 40,000 fans and I'm just like, what am I doing? This is so stupid, there's no point in doing this. But a story that I think illustrates this very well is by a woman named Danielle Laporte. She is a business entrepreneur, public speaker, and author, and she says that if our own voices didn't matter, then bookstores would be empty, because they would only be full of 2 novels. There are novels about about love and there are novels about death. And every single novel that's ever been written is those two things. So we'd have 2 books in every bookstore across the United States. They've already been written. Don't even worry about it. Well, obviously that's not true. So just kind of remember that like your point of view does matter because of your background or because of your experiences now or where you want to go or your friends or your influences or the other blogs you read, all of that good stuff. And that's again why it's important to stay up on other blogs too.
It's also very important to know what your boundaries are and to stick to them. I do sponsored posts on my blog, and recently I was supposed to do a sponsored post for this company. They're called Good Nights, and they're like training pants for children who have difficulty making it through the night without wetting the bed. So I was reviewing this and I looked at the parameters of the post and they wanted me to include 3 photos of my child in these things. And I really had a difficult time with that. As a mother, I'm like, I'm not putting a picture of my kid in any type of underwear assuming attire. I just don't want it out there. It doesn't help that my husband was dead set against it too. But so I didn't do it, and the company reached out to me and they were like, why aren't you doing it? And I explained the situation, and then we came to a mutual agreement that I would take a photo, but he would be in his pajamas, so it wouldn't be insinuating anything, and I wouldn't include his face. So I basically shot the shot from like the shoulders down. And that was the happy medium. But then I went out looking at other blog posts and I was appalled at the people that were putting pictures of their kids in these pants on there. And to me that was non-negotiable. I wasn't gonna do it. I wasn't gonna make that compromise no matter what. So it was looking for either, if we didn't find a workaround, I just wasn't going to do it. So I wanted to stay true to that, really figuring out what those boundaries are for yourself. And if you're doing a review, provide an honest review. If you don't like the product, put out there that you don't like the product. And then just on a side note, that if you do stuff, if it is a sponsored post and you're getting paid and you're making money or there's an affiliate link on there, you do need to have disclosure on your post. So make sure that you have that if that's something that you're going to be doing. So what do we have? Whoops. Promote, promote, promote. Can't say that enough. To grow your blog, it's very important that you create some buzz about your website. And if you're not going to toot your own horn, nobody else is going to do it for you. So you really have to be out there promoting it yourself. We were talking at lunch about, promoting our blog posts. And when I write my posts, I have this, I'm a list maker, I'm a nerdy list maker. So I have this list on a Post-it note, and I literally go down, so I post my blog post, and I have to go promote it here, promote it here, promote it here, and I have my whole list of things I have to do so I don't forget. If I'm not gonna do it, nobody's gonna do it for me. So that's very important. And social media is a great drive of traffic for my site. I know I did this one post for Pillsbury, and I did a recipe. It was a very easy dinner recipe. I shared it on Facebook, and then within 2 hours, it had 267 shares. I was like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it. I've never seen anything like that, but it was huge. My traffic went through the roof that day. So that was pretty cool. So now I need to dig in deeper and see how I can get more of that more often. But you need to make yourself your expert in your field and establish how you want people to see you. So, one thing I look at is my title. Am I just a blogger, or, I'm an online content creator? That's what I do. I found that in this area especially, people don't really understand what a blogger is. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but I say, oh, I'm a blogger. They understand blogger, but they don't understand what a blog is. I'd be like, I have a blog. Ooh, I don't do that. I don't know what that is. I'm like, it's just a website. That's all it is. That's my mother's big hang up on all this. I don't know what a blog is. But it's just getting past all that. And, is it a blog or a website? I've just resorted to calling it a website now just to kind of avoid all of that. And another way you can create some buzz is guest posting on other blogs or commenting on other blogs, really giving that blog love and blog karma back and forth.
Yeah, and I assume that most of us are from the Wyoming Valley. I know a few of us are here from the Lehigh Valley, and obviously those are not huge cities, right? They're not Philadelphia, they're not New York, and you might be a little discouraged by that, like, oh, it's not as cool, it's not as progressive, but I think that you can use that to your advantage, so you can really become an expert in your area on whatever you want to say you're an expert on, because no one's going to tell you you're not if you like put in the work and you know are convincing about it. But I guess what I mean by that is, you know, if you are like a crafter and you make like really cool like home decor things and you have a blog all about that, there's probably not 500 other interior design home decor craft blogs coming out of the Wyoming Valley. So do that. Make sure that you start to come to things like this. Make sure that people in the media know who you are. So guess what? The paper is looking for someone to put like a craft in the paper, and they're going to call you up. Well, now you have press coverage by a paper, and it's on their website, and maybe you'll get interviewed on TV. And this is just because of some little cool blog that you started for fun because you like to make crafts in your kitchen. Like, this is really neat. You know, you can really establish yourself as the voice of fill in the blank thing, and that should not be overlooked. Take advantage of that.
That actually segues us into the next topic. So,
oh, okay. Oh, goody. Let's see. Oh, it's all about building relationships. Yeah, well, obviously networking online and offline. Things like this are great because people can see that you are an actual human being, and I think that that always kind of, I know for me, like endears me a lot more to a person, especially if maybe it sounds like, oh, I don't know if I'd really be interested in what they're talking about, but you meet them and they're kind of really dynamic and really friendly and really fun, and all of a sudden you're at least going to take a look, you know, they seem like an interesting person. That also, I think, makes people want to help you out more too, like showing up to things. If there's an art show and you go to it and, you know, that friend also has an art blog, well, they may tag you or say you're there, and that's going to help drive people to you, but also just being like genuinely interested in people, you know, like it's not all about marketing, and, you know, people can sense that. I know we were talking too about commenting on other blogs, right? And, you know, people can tell if you're like leaving a comment just so you can name drop yourself and just so you can leave a link, so like hopefully all of their readers will click to your site. So there, you can do that, but you should check how often you do it, because then you're just gonna look like a jerk, I think. Just do it all the time.
don't want to look like jerks. You know, those meaningful, you know, viable relationships are what you're looking for. I actually was able to form a nice little network with 3 other local bloggers, local mom bloggers, and we get together, and a lot of times, like, we're just bouncing ideas off of each other and teaching each other how to do different things that we didn't know how to do with our site. So it's very helpful to be doing that kind of stuff and making those connections. Which takes us to our next lesson, is to treat your blog like a business. You know, you go ahead, quit your job because you're going to make a fortune blogging, right? Not true. You know, but I've always treated my blog like a business from day one, and I think that was just ingrained in me because of my previous work experience. You know, I worked helping small businesses, so for me to do, you know, income and expenses is no big deal, and I just like numbers and statistics and stuff too. So, but you know, I started selling, you know, using Google AdSense, selling ads, working with sponsors, generating some income. And I just knew that I needed to start tracking this, because I didn't want, surprise, surprise, you know, December 31st or January 1st, you're going to get a 1099 in the mail, and you're like, uh-oh, what am I supposed to do with this? You know, you're working with these brands, and they're claiming you as an expense, so you have to claim the income. You don't want to be, you know, caught in a bad place with that. But, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can make money with your blog. You know, there's Google AdSense. There's a lot of different affiliate marketing organizations that you can work with. There's probably about 7 or 8 of them that I work with now to get the sponsored posts and to generate some income. And if anybody wants any of that, my information will be at the end of the presentation. So feel free to email me, Facebook me, whatever, contact me in whatever way you want to. And I can get that list of affiliate networks out to you. You know, freelance work, things like that.
Oh, yes. Speaking of freelance work, so one kind of really cool thing that is, you know, as more companies are kind of creating blogs and they're maybe not bloggers or they're not writers, so they are hiring people. And you can also find this on a lot of like websites that maybe in your area or like some big website, and it's like, go to this restaurant and write a review for us and we will pay you or maybe cover the cost of your food. That's all very cool. But I've been trolling around Craigslist lately, which maybe is problem number one, looking for some new, like, couple little freelance jobs here and there, and I'm finding a lot that are for 700-word articles, and you will get paid $20 per article. So let's think about this now. If you actually try to put some work into that and make it decent, and say you spend like 4 hours on it, 5 hours on it, you just made yourself $4 an hour. Like, congratulations. So yeah, quit your job and become a famous rich blogger. So, you know, those things aren't bad because, of course, depending on, it's going to give you experience for sure, you know, help you get accustomed to deadlines, and, you know, it's almost, I mean, if you're going to do an internship and work for free, this is kind of a cool way to actually make $20 at the end of it. But is that what your time is worth? And especially once you've been doing it for a while, like, value yourself and don't, I think that you should say yes to everything, at least at some point, to try and get the experience, but at some point, like, you're going to be worth more than $4 an hour, especially if you have years of experience and you've built an audience and people actually value your opinion because you write with integrity. So some kind of like slimy business wants to come in and kind of piggyback on the fact that you worked really hard to build an audience that gives you a lot of credit. And I don't know, is it worth it? Like, that's for you to decide.
I think one of the other things too is to just always be professional. I know that seems kind of like a duh kind of thing, but it's very important because you never know who's reading your blog. When Jamie and I were talking about this, I just kind of mentioned offhand, like, I wonder if any celebrities have ever read my blog. You know, if they just stumbled upon it, you don't know. I used to do these linky parties. You were talking about that one of the previous sessions, weren't you? The blog hops and stuff. Yeah, so I used to do those, and I was so surprised the one time when one of the contestants from The Biggest Loser posted something on my blog, like posted a link up on I'm like, ooh, that's probably the most famous person I've ever known to read my blog, but I just thought that was kind of cool, and you never know what kind of reach you're going to have. You know, so keeping it professional and positive, and that's extremely important with social media too. Like, I try to treat my social media sites as a place to always be positive. I don't like to throw negative things out there because there's so much negativity in the world. You know, and if you do get bad reviews or whatever, the good thing is your readers will probably police them for you. So you don't have to go in there and like start a little online cat fight with somebody, because your readers will do it for you and they'll stand up for you. But did you want to?
I did have a really neat little story about not knowing who reads your stuff. One day I went down the blog rabbit hole, you know, where like you're reading a blog and it leads to 17,000 other blogs, and like 4 hours later you just find one that you really like, and you spend 2 more hours just going through all the back pages of that. And there was this girl, I think she's like a life coach, and she was just so positive and cool, and she writes about like body image and like feminism and really neat stuff. And I was feeling a little particularly sad that day about what I was doing with myself. So I was reading her blog, and I see her, she does this like link post every Friday, and it's just like links from around the internet, and I see she wrote something called pumpkin pie Lara bars, and I was like, oh, cool, I made a recipe called pumpkin pie Lara bars, it's my freaking recipe, and it was linked to my page, and that was crazy, because I mean, I didn't know, and like how, it was this weird, so I wrote her this email, and I'm like, there is a very serendipitous thing that just happened, like I just found you, this is crazy, and it was just really cool, and that was like a major confidence boost. But you know, and the thing is, she still would have read it and probably liked it whether or not she posted it, so maybe we need to not feel so bad about ourselves, but, but yeah, you never know who's reading it.
Okay, so number 8 is to keep learning, and you're all here for a reason, obviously. Learning is growing. You know, read all of the books, the websites, the blogs, conferences like this. You know, anything that can help you take something away and make your site better, I find is very important. Next week, I'm participating in an online blog conference. I'm so excited about that too. So this has just been like one big learning experience for me this weekend and next week. So you can get so much out of it and learn new ways to build your website, and you know, other bloggers are extremely helpful. You know, it's not as competitive as you would think it is. I've found so many other bloggers to be so very giving with their time and their talent, and their insights. It's just so helpful. There's great YouTube videos out there too, but definitely keep learning. So number 9 is to make sure that you have the right tools. This is one of those things that you have to have the right tools, and it's one of those that you need to find what works for you. So there's a couple of things that I have to have at all times, or I don't feel like I'm effective with my blog. One of them, I use Evernote like it's nobody's business. That's like probably one of my favorite online tools. I have it on my iPad, my phone, my laptop. I store everything in there. It's just a great way for me to keep track of everything. My other handy thing, it's back there, is my notebook/calendar. I carry that with me everywhere. We were joking and talking about like when we get our stuff done, and a lot of times mine is waiting for my son to get off the bus or get on the bus. I'm sitting in the car for that 10 minutes where I actually have complete and utter peace and quiet, and I get so much done planning and organizing and strategizing in those 10 minutes than I can do any other time. My other favorite tool, if you haven't heard about this one, is PicMonkey. It's an online photo editing software. It's so easy to use. That's how I put the titles on all of my photos if you're on my blog looking around. It's just a great resource to have. You want to share, right?
Yeah, actually, I think that if you can have really nice equipment, like beautiful cameras and editing software, that's wonderful, but not all of us have that. And I just have like a little point and shoot camera in my phone. I feel like I use my phone, especially with like the wonders of Instagram, just making everything gorgeous and like 1,000 times better than in real life. But I feel like I use that actually all the time. Although, you know, obviously photos that are taken with like a super high-end camera look stunning, but use what you have. I mean, don't like not take a photo, learn about lighting. You know, you'll find that like taking a picture by a window using natural lighting is 1,000 times better than when you finished cooking it at night after dinner and it's like on your countertop and there's a glare because you had to use a flash, you know, so you like stick it in the fridge and take the picture tomorrow morning and it's gonna look a lot better. So you can still like work with what you have and not have to dish out a whole bunch of money. But if you have a whole bunch of money, buy some fancy stuff, yeah.
As my grandfather always used to say, this is probably very politically incorrect, so please don't get mad at me for saying this, but it ain't the arrow, it's the Indian. So it's just taking what you have and learning how to use it well. And we eat a lot of cold food at my house because it's got all of its photo op before we can eat it. Okay, so the 10th thing is just be aware that no matter what you do, things are going to change all the time. And as long as you're willing to change, you're able to grow. And I know, like, I've changed a lot since I started blogging in January of 2010, that cold wintry day when I was watching that movie. You know, I used to have a lot of bad recipes, now I don't have as many. It's not just because I'm a better cook, I think it's just because, you know, I've picked out better things. The direction of my blog has changed just a little bit. I've added new sections, and it's just being able to, you know, change with everything, you know, with the creation of Instagram and, you know, all that stuff. Like, things are always changing, and conferences like this and, you know, other websites and blogs are great ways to stay on top of that change.
Yeah, when I first started, I felt like I had to be like everything. I had to be like the like health and beauty and like how to make your own skin creams, and also cooking, and also like natural aroma therapies, and like this and this and this and this, and like that's not me in my day-to-day life. And you know, I read like a lot of, I don't even really consider myself like a vegan blog. I think I do more of like a lifestyle blog now that happens to be like all vegan food. But even with that, like I read like other vegan blogs or blogs that you would say are in my genre, and everybody's like, here's another picture of the green smoothie I had this morning. And then I went to yoga class, and I was like, I don't drink green smoothies every single morning, and I've never done yoga in my life. Like, am I even like allowed in your little vegan blog club? Like, if I don't do those things, maybe I'm not, I don't know. I think the answer though is yes, and that I can take the things that I do have, which are like these other things. Like I just started running and doing these fitness boot camps, and like, so that's cool. So I'll talk about that, and you guys can have your yoga, and then maybe that's what sets me apart. And you know, just not feeling like you have to be everything to everybody all the time, but you're not really gonna know that unless you do it. So I think we would encourage you to do it and try things, and if they don't work, okay, you know, maybe you lost a few hours, and if they're really embarrassing, you can delete them, hopefully, unless somebody works for like the government, you can find it and embarrass us down the road. But yeah, you know what? The cool thing about blogging is it can literally be like whatever you want it to be. So put your whole heart into it.
Any questions for us? Those are our 10 things. So.
You guys ever rolled out like a content calendar and map out what you're going to be writing about, a couple weeks in advance?
I do. This is my content calendar. Carry it with me. It's very high tech. I think I got it at the dollar store. It is an actual calendar in there where I write out what I'm going to be posting about and jotting down ideas because I have to build those sponsored posts in. I should be using this. Build those sponsored posts in here and there. So yeah, I do use it. I live by that.
Can you talk about trends in page views? Do you typically get a lot of views for one post? Do you have more stable viewership? How does it work?
It's hard to say. Like, I know on my website, when I post like slow cooker meals, way up there. The fast dinners, and that's why I created that other feature for Dinner 411, because when my readers, when I post fast and quick and easy dinner ideas, I would notice that I get a lot of feedback from people, and they got very positive responses. So I'm like, people are very interested in this. Is this something that I can build off of? So, by studying my analytics and knowing what those posts were, I was able to get that insight, and that's kind of what drove me to start Dinner 411.
Yeah, I don't really plan them like too much in advance, but I mean, like, for example, we just taped another episode of my show like 3 days ago, and so it's the fall episode, and we were like kind of making jokes like, oh, like another white girl talking about like cardigans and books and pumpkin food, and like that's kind of the joke, but I'm like, how could you not have pumpkin food in a fall show? So of course we did pumpkin recipes, and that's obviously going to be a little more relevant than if I did it in like March. No, otherwise it's pretty general. And actually, my most viewed post that I get the most hits on every day is something that I did like 2.5 years ago for Brussels sprouts, which I think is hilarious because it was just like this goofy side dish that's like 3 ingredients, and the pictures aren't even good, but apparently nobody really posts about Brussels sprouts, and so somehow if you Google Brussels sprouts, I don't know why, but like Save the Kales is like the 5th Google entry for my goofy thing that I posted 2.5 years ago. So yeah, find the weird ones, I guess.
Any other questions?
When you get to sponsored posts, did those companies come to you? Do you reach out to them somehow? How have you developed those relationships?
Sure. Both. So I've had companies just reach out to me and ask me to do it. Other times I've seen things that I like and I think what my readers would also like, so I reach out to those companies. In some other cases, I work with those affiliate networks and they provide some of the leads, and then what they do is they look for bloggers that fit the niche that they're trying to reach. So there's a whole range of it. It's all of it working at once.
You mentioned, starting with a good website name and buying all that up in the beginning. So I'm in a situation where someone owns my name already. Do you have any experience of trying to buy the website from?
Is there a contraction in your name? That was mine. It took me like 3 years to figure that one out.
Well, I know that, I don't have personal experience, but I know in general, like website, it will expire, and so if you can like jump on that, I know there's like a big website that I read that's a huge design site, but Design Sponge, like somebody bought that designsponge.com, and so they had to change theirs after a period of time to designspongeonline.com, but then they just got to go back to designsponge.com because it like opened up again and they were ready on the ball because that person's like credit card expired and they didn't realize and their thing didn't renew, and so they kind of weaseled their way in there. But I mean, until that happens, if somebody else has it, yeah, maybe you have to come up with a clever name. But maybe it could be like an opportunity to like reinvent everything, and like get new graphics and like kind of not start totally from scratch, but yeah, give it a little breath of fresh air.
I literally just made a list of everything I thought it could be, and just sort of worked from there and just brainstormed out thing after thing after thing. Asked my friends and family, what would you think of if you were looking for X, Y, Z? So So that's kind of how I did it.
There are other extensions, you can do like .net.
Yeah.
I had to do that.
Yeah.
Because the .com for my site, because somebody's had it forever, so.
And whatever you have, just promote the hell out of it, you know, and then people will get to know you for what you are, you know, for whatever website it is. 'Cause most times they're gonna bookmark it or get to you from a social link anyway, so they're not gonna be typing in your actual URL, so. Any other questions? Well, here's our contact information. Feel free to reach out to either one of us. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity, and we'll see you around.